This is Lee Boyle. I am walking by the Big Four ice caves, Washington State, outside of Granite Falls. Thanks for listening to the creatives of Ohio and following us on all of our travels.
Shattered senses, muffled sounds, broken fences, trespass grounds, no residences, reckless towns, tambourine saving, talking live, electric.
Dwelling within many of us lonely Ohioans, Midwesterners, and beyond is an urge to create and connect. We have poetry to write, people to care for, music to play, careers to chase down, jokes to tell, hands to hold, jobs to work, and stories to live. And there are more like us. There are more like you. Come, let's become friends on Nursery, a podcast from Ohio's creative voice. In 1999, a group of odd youngsters started making music, skits, writings, and friends by using their small town as fuel for what was then just a tiny flame. Now, spiraling out from that core group, we are here for you, so that life won't be so lonely anymore. Get weird, humorous, introspective, philosophical, and candid with us by exploring Nursery Podcast backlog on thirdclass.net. And while you peruse the site, pick up a vinyl record or t-shirt, check out concert dates, and listen to songs on streaming services, including the song for Nursery, the theme song, all from a little indie pop band from Ohio called Third Class. If your appetite remains unsatisfied and you simply need more entertainment, and you maybe even want to laugh or two, go to bullskit.com and observe a rainy day sampler of the crudely humored home movie skits from Ohio's online comedy troupe Bullskit Productions. Get into our world. You'll have a good time. Nursery is sloppy, thrown together, and beautifully aware of all the little dreams you've got to keep alive. We are sponsored by the Orange Avocado, an organic, vegan, gluten-free, raw, cold-pressed juicery at 1393 Boardman Canfield Road in Boardman, Ohio, and by the Speaking of Music show on YouTube, a podcast about the music of yesterday and today. Sponsor your first episode of Nursery by emailing us at clograve@gmail.com. That's CHLOEGRAVE@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Be sure to leave reviews and rate Nursery Podcast on iTunes. Look, Mom, we're on a podcast.
The nursery and all of the trees cross over the dark, and some old parking lots hold my whimpering thoughts, and I'm on the next train. You and me, can't you see what this means? In the light of a torch, realize nothing is forced, nothing is forced. The nursery and all of the trees cross over the dark, and some old parking lots hold my whimpering thoughts, and I'm on the next train. You and me, can't you see what this means? In the light of a torch, realize nothing is forced, nothing is forced, nothing is forced, nothing is forced.
Hello, from Pike Place Market. We just waited an hour for a coffee that we could have waited 5 minutes for in a coffee place down the hill. But I feel super refreshed. I almost dropped all 4 coffees in the carrier several times because it's so crowded. We're going to go see some old pieces of gum that people decided to stick on a wall, and it caught on. Katie's here. Our nieces, Katie, Elise, and Evelyn.
I'm going to squirt you.
Don't squirt me with your vanilla bean latte. I'll be in line forever for this thing. Put it back on so you don't drop it. Put the lid back on tightly.
see you in Seattle, and I see you again, and I've overcome the battle that I'm having within, and it's looking like my shadow is going nowhere thin. Up the creek without a paddle, and it's time to begin. I will have you in a jiffy. Choo-choo two-string guitar. When you're old enough with ID, take you out to the bar. With my brothers and wife with me, we can play in the yard, and we don't have to pay anything just to look at the stars. We are young, colorless dolls. We are factoryless calls. We are nameless and we're fine. We are famous in our minds. All your words stick to me.
Hey everybody, welcome to Nursery. My name's Lee Boyle. I am in Portland, Oregon right now. This is the state I was born in. I don't make it here very often. This is only my second time here as an adult, possibly fourth time here ever. It's really nice to just walk around and kind of take poetic license with what places my parents may have gone and what they did as youngsters here, 30-somethings, I assume. Walking around. So it just feels good to walk around and look around and try to just look at some of the parks. And last time I was here, I made sure to drive past the apartment or stop, and I even went in the little foyer of the apartment that they lived in and took a look at that. So it's really fun to try to imagine stuff like that. So yeah, an Ohioans look at Portland, Oregon. All right. Thanks for listening, guys.
I saw a film, it was of Mom when she was young. She was with Dad and it looked like they had a good amount of fun. They were in Portland and I don't remember why. I sat down on the couch and watched, and I began to cry. Cold morning light.
Hey everybody, this is Lee Boyle. Walking around in Portland, Oregon, Laurelhurst Park. My mom recently told me that when her and my father lived in Portland, which was early 1980s, they would walk around in this park. And to give you an idea of the surroundings, there's a horseshoe court. Oddly enough, paralleling a horseshoe court that I saw in East Palestine, Ohio Park when I was a kid, because they moved straight back from Portland after they gave birth to me. So I'm visiting this city to try to look at my family in a different way. And my mom's kind of an amateur genealogist, and so she tries to build family trees and stuff like that. But I'm not really going that far. I'm just trying to maybe this is not cool, but I'm trying to look at all this stuff and make it more of my own. Looking around at all the big pine trees on this path and the beautiful pond and the rays of sun poking through the big branches, it's material, Write some songs, poems, little things like that, which have already been written since my 2013 and 14 trips to the Pacific Northwest, whether it was Seattle or Portland or surrounding areas, as far as the band Third Class goes. And then, makes its way into poetry, which sometimes gets turned into music. My dad was going to school at School for Naturopathy in Portland. I went and saw that when I was here in 2014, the year of this recording now. This is July 26th, 2016. In Laurelhurst Park, Portland, Oregon. So he did that, and that became his career. Went to school, bachelor's in English. Well, I believe he was captaining the football team of College of Worcester, Ohio. Weird, right? Going to school for English and being the football team captain. Then again, I tend to too often categorize things. Got to get out of that habit a little bit. When my mother, was in the Columbiana County area, going to school in Crestview High School, New Waterford, when she was a kid, and then I think her and if you listen to a different episode called Octavio Paz and Robert Frost, an early episode of Nursery podcast, you hear my mom tell the story of them. I think they started hanging out in Connecticut. Man, people from Ohio just go all over the place, don't they? They just gotta get away from home so they can miss it, don't they? That's a lot of people's cities, though, isn't it? Gotta get out. It doesn't mean you're necessarily coming back, but you gotta get out and show yourself you can get out. It's kind of like a job. You have to maybe go apply for other jobs to show yourself that you're not stuck. Even if the job's a job you don't hate, And the reason I say that is because I don't really believe in the dream job. I don't. A lot of people don't. And that's not a negative thing. It's just way too positive to act like, a job isn't a job. Currently I work in a warehouse in Ohio. My coworkers were nice enough to allow me some unpaid time off, which I really appreciate because it's been crazy there. New computer system, all this. Oh man, it's been bad. I'm still aching from the day I worked before I left for this vacation to Seattle and Portland with my wife's side of the family, coming to primarily see a new member of the family, Rebecca Zhang, who is the daughter of my sister-in-law, her husband Wei. Nitpicky listeners will note a connection from Wei Zhang, the father, to Courtney in an episode called Running and Phones, or Phones and Running, 2016 Nursery podcast episode. Big patch of sunlight here. I figure I record a whole episode of this. You might be a little sick of it because there have been a few episodes of Nursery this year where I've taken it upon myself to go solo. I don't know if that's annoying listeners. I hope it's not. Like, it's kind of an undertaking to try to hold up a whole podcast set by yourself. Some people do it, celebrities, Bill Burr, things like that, but they got the egos to carry them through. I don't have that. I just don't. I hope someday I do, but that's not as much as it might sound like I do. Nowhere near, not even close. Not even close. As much as I think you might enjoy the history of a small town Ohio and coming through the Pacific Northwest, it's not because I think I'm special. It's because I think that there's a relatability when people just open the doors a little bit to their stories. Anyone could be doing what I'm doing. Just open it up a little, and it's going to get interesting no matter who you are. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. It's not so much about like, hey, make sure you note where Lee came from. That's not, it's not really, you're supposed to take it and then kind of trace it over your own stuff, like you do with most things. What have I done in that regard? You probably know if you've listened to a lot of the episodes of Nursery. Kevin Smith, filmmaker. I'm kind of a fan of his films, but he's also a public speaker. Somewhat parlayed himself into being a little bit of a motivational speaker for creatives, in that if I can do it, anyone can, he says, type speeches, And so I get inspired by people like him. Hopefully you get inspired by people like me. And it goes full circle, straight back to him, specifically Kevin Smith. No, I'm just kidding, but you get it. Pine cones all over the path, little dogs on leashes, hills with ferns, gigantic trees jutting out of the hills, mulch, a couple little lamp posts and things like that. There's someone who has put a hammock up between two trees, hanging out there, laying down in the shade. That looks pretty relaxing. Caution, watch for ice. Stairs are slippery when wet. If you're a long-time Nursery listener, you maybe have heard me in other places. Wichita, Kansas, Columbia, Missouri, New York City with my comedy troupe, Bullskit Productions. We went just as fans, not in a performance mode, to some of our favorite comedy type shows like Book of Mormon musical, and we went to the Comedy Cellar in New York to go see a few random people there, including Dave Attell, which was pretty good. So the travels that you tend to collect in documenting your life in such a way like this, whether it's this or diary or / journal or just having a good memory, you start to realize you're lucky. Don't have any money, but lucky enough not to be so far in debt. Whether you're speaking financially or just more metaphorically, that you can't not enjoy this. That you can enjoy this. Not that good at talking still after all this. That's enough. Okay, listeners, it's hard to get people to write in to podcasts. Even those big ones, This American Life, stuff like that, you tend to, like, if you look at some of their social media and their Twitter and stuff, like, the only time you see really big numbers is when you look at their plays, like how many times someone has played an episode on the SoundCloud type, like the podcast-based social media. But when you look at Twitter or Facebook or something, sometimes you see like a very small amount of likes, because people are straight up they're only connected through their ears. They're not going above and beyond to write in. And don't get me wrong, they do write in droves, but the percentage of people that do, I suspect, are just so the tip of the iceberg. Because there are a lot of people that listen and then they don't really like become interactive with the podcast, or they don't become like connected in any other way than the episodes, which is fine. But I encourage you to do something, just something small. Write in and say, I don't like your solo episodes. Please have a guest on so you can bounce off of them and get some more interesting voices than your own on. Or say, hey, it's nice to learn about the host. Maybe do a couple more of these. Please write in. And that email is clograve@gmail.com. CHLOE, that's Chloe, but some people pronounce it Chloe, @gmail.com. So it's CHLOEGRAVE@gmail.com. Clograve@gmail.com. Write in as a fan, as someone who's been on the podcast before, maybe someone who's a fellow podcaster, fellow musician or filmmaker, and say, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. Can you plug my thing on here? Would you talk more about this? Will you devote an episode to that? I will listen. You know, it's a small time operation, so please. And of course, sponsor an episode, same email. Really cheap, easy, good promotion to a good audience. Might be kind of a small audience, but good audience. The people I know who have stopped me and said they listened were people that often show patronage. Small businesses, it just goes hand in hand. You know, if you care enough to find something like this, you care enough to go find the little businesses. Just makes sense. It's science.
Do you remember we used to hang at the old soda shop? Do you remember hanging at the old soda shop? I knew who you were. You knew who I was at the old soda shop. Do you remember hanging at the old soda shop?
Hello, my name's Lee. What's your name?
Marissa.
Okay, so I saw you sitting out in the grass here at Laurelhurst Park. I'm doing a podcast called Nursery podcast, and it's just about creative people in Ohio. But I was born in Portland, and my parents walked around here a lot, so I'm walking around here taking poetic license with their lives. So I saw that you had a guitar. Would you play a song for our listeners?
Sure.
Okay. Anything you want to say about the song before it starts?
No, this is actually a baritone ukulele, and this song it's pretty self-explanatory.
Okay.
So I feel like it's just about the process that I'm in right now of kind of coming out and expressing my truth.
Sounds good. Go ahead with it then.
Okay.
Cracked open like the ocean. Carry me through the sea to the shores of my sovereignty. Forgive the past, let the future unfold. Put our minds to rest and covering the blindfold so we can see ourselves and each other too. There's no better work to do. I'm gonna break free from my cage. I'm gonna spread my wings and allow myself to be held in solidarity. I'm gonna break free from my shell. Cracked open like the ocean. Carry me through the sea to the shores of my sovereignty.
Thank you. So listeners, hopefully you had a good time with that. You'll be our like live musical guest for this weird episode I'm recording.
Woohoo!
And so, I guess, have you been to Ohio or anywhere in the Midwest? I should ask you that.
I have been in the Midwest.
Okay, what did you
Not
think?
to Ohio.
Are you from here?
I'm from California. But
Okay.
I've lived.
So what was your, in a nutshell, as we wrap this up, what was your impression of the Midwest?
It was really green
Yeah.
and lush, and the people seemed very like genuine, like not a lot of like fluff or pretending to be anybody else. Very like very pure essence of
Yeah.
humanity.
They're very
Yeah.
straightforward
Yeah.
in some weird way.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So then last question, what are you doing here now, Portland?
I am a nanny and I'm studying to be a doula and just working on my singing and songwriting
That's
path.
awesome. I
Yeah.
have a friend who I interviewed in an episode called Nannies and the Universe who has been like a nanny since she was like really young, like 18 years old. She loves
Nice.
it. And my wife is on her way to be a doula. Like she's a labor and delivery nurse.
Oh, cool.
But she has acted as a doula before and
Nice.
like wants to do that all the time and stuff like that.
Awesome.
So that's cool that you said those two
Yeah.
things. We've had experience as far as storytelling on this episode. Do you have a record player?
I do have a record
Okay,
player.
maybe just as a thank you for you playing this, I'll give you an album. I've been walking around all the stores here trying to get them to sell our stuff.
Oh,
So I could go to my car and hand it to you real quick if you'll
That'd
take
be
it home.
great.
If-
Yeah,
as
I'd
long
love
as
a
that's
record.
as long as you can carry it somewhere.
Yeah, I've got my car.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
come right back. But
Okay.
thanks for being on here. And can
Yeah.
you say, "Look, Mom, we're on a podcast"? That's our sign off.
Okay. Look, Mom, we're on a podcast.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, so my website, my Bandcamp is Marissa, Marissa dash Nema, Nema dash di.bandcamp.com.
And I've gotten a lot worse at writing letters than I used to. I used to be so good about writing letters, and I've really slacked off a lot and haven't done a very good job of it. And I just feel like we've really lost touch with each other. I was thinking last night of using some of my Christmas money to call some people. But I don't know if I should do that or not. You never know if people are busy or not. But sometimes it's just like if you can just talk to somebody for a little bit, that kind of renews the friendship. And some people, that's what they do all the time. They just keep in touch with their families or with everyone that they want to just by long-distance phone calls, and they don't even consider writing letters. And, well, if I had, I guess if you have a lot of money, it's tempting to do that, because who cares if you spend the money then? But now, of course, I don't feel like I have the money to do anything like that. But even if I did, I really like writing too, and I kind of wish people would keep more in touch more by writing letters and would try to write letters in detail. Like I used to, I've read some collections of letters that people wrote, like in the 1800s, and how people used to write letters to each other so much more than they do now, since they have a telephone or since they can fly places to see each other. But mainly because of the telephone, people don't write as much as they used to. And people used to they would write letters saying as many little things as I've said in this tape. You know, that when people were writing letters, they just wrote a lot of details. And now we don't do that. It's really hard. I find it really hard to do that. I just barely give a sketch of what's going on. And, you know, you just feel like it, you know, we don't have as much time as people used to have then. Partly because probably a lot of these people who were writing letters before had servants who were fixing their meals and doing the laundry and stuff like that. But also because we have so many other distractions like the television and other things that writing letters isn't as much of a priority as it used to be. But I sort of hate to see the custom of writing letters die, because even though you can say more and different things in talking, like on tapes and telephone, there's still something about writing, too, that gets you to be able to say things more. And if we tried to write in more detail, I think it would, you know, you could say more in writing. I'm really bad about that, because I just can't. You just get tired, I guess, trying to write or trying to think of saying things in detail, or just like what I was saying about doing this tape. You know, I just don't feel like anything I'm doing is of that much significance to tell somebody about it, you know. But it seems like people who talk a lot and people who used to write a lot of letters, probably they just feel differently. They feel like they have a lot to say and a lot of important things are happening to them. And it's not that I feel like important things are happening to me and I feel real good about my life and you know, feel that, you know, it's always interesting and stimulating. But I guess mostly I don't feel like other people would be too interested in hearing about all the little details of it. You know, it seems like you can give them a general idea without going too much into every little aspect of it. But anyways, I said I was going to stop for tonight, and I think hope I'll be able to tape a little bit tomorrow and finish the tape so I can get it in the mail to you.
Hello everybody, this is Wade. I thought I'd break in here for a few minutes before all the tape gets used up. I guess Karen probably told you most of our news. Just wanted to say thank you for the nice Christmas gift. We can sure use the money. I've decided to spend mine on a big book that they're reprinting at the school. It's an old textbook for one of my courses, and it's real expensive and it's real big and it's real old, and so they're going to be printing them up after the holidays, and I wasn't going to be able to afford to get one, and now I can put the gift money toward it, so I'll be really happy to have that book, and I'll always remember where I got it from. So thank you very much. So it's been a little different the last couple weeks, not having the VW to drive to school. I've been catching rides with people as best I can, one way and the other. Sometimes it comes pretty close to getting left there, but and I have to take the truck sometimes too. So I'll probably take the truck tomorrow. But it's been interesting trying to catch rides with people. Karen just reminded me I should tell you that this one guy came to pick me up. He offered me rides to school 2 different mornings, and I waited and he never showed up, and so I finally I drive the truck to school, and he'd be there, and he'd say, "What happened?" And I'd say, "Well, I was waiting for you." And he'd say, "Well, I was there, and I didn't find you." So after the second day that happened, I asked him, did he know where I lived? He said, "Well, I think so." And we drew a little map. He thought we lived in the house over behind our apartment. He'd go in there and knocking on the door and everything. And I'm waiting over at our apartment for him. So anyhow, I think we have that straightened out. I've been pretty busy at the clinic lately. We've been getting some patients who need to have somebody with them all the time, and I've been in on a couple of them. So, like when I came home today, I put in a 6.5-hour shift with this woman who's staying at the clinic right now until she gets better. So, and I think Karen told you I'm going to put in a few days over the Christmas break to make sure I get enough hours in. And so it's keeping me pretty busy up there. I haven't had a chance to do any Christmas shopping for Karen yet. I'm going to try to squeeze that in sometime this weekend. I'm supposed to be working on the ceilings here in this building, so I don't know when I'll do it. I'd tell you what I think I'm going to get Karen, but she's sitting right here, so that blew the secret on that one. So, well, I'm sure you know that we're both real sorry not to be able to see you this Christmas again, and we look forward to talking to you on Christmas Day, and really appreciate your thoughtful and generous gifts and a nice card, and we hope that you all have a very nice Christmas. So take care.
Well, I just been home for a little while. I wrapped up the Christmas presents that I got for Wade and put them out. I wanted to do those before he came home. Still pouring down rain a lot here. All day it's been rainy, but still pretty warm. And I think I heard you guys had 3 or 4 inches of snow or something. I don't know. Sometimes I think I kind of miss the snow, but then other times I wonder when we move back if we'll be prepared for all the cold weather, because we've been living in such mild weather for the last couple years.
I was driving after I was recording a little bit for this podcast episode, and I saw a building that said Portland Nursery on it, so I had to pull in here, look at a couple of the trees they got sitting around, and take a picture of the sign and just think, whoa, man, that must mean something. That must mean something. Oh, man. Oh, can you believe it? That blows my mind. That blows my mind right out of the back of my skull. Yeah.